Hi everyone, welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, and we're previewing the St LEGER Festival for you. Well, I say the festival, we've got 2 days of it. We're going to be previewing all the ITV action. There's a couple of races from Chester on Saturday, but we're going to start with 4 races from Donny on Friday. And Charlie Poste and Steve Jones are alongside me. We'll get to then Saturday, and we'll start with a LEGER and kick on from there. It's weird because it normally clashes with Irish Champions Weekend, but we're LEGER through and through for you this weekend. And we'll get stuck straight into the action, I think. A reminder to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Premier League's back, for example, this weekend. And if you like the Premier League previews we do, then if you like and subscribe, it makes it easier for you to stay in touch with us and all the podcasts that we do. Okay, first things first, we head to Friday. A couple of juvenile races we kick off with. We've got the Flying Childers. We've got the Flying Scotsman, first of all, over the 7 furlongs. This is the 150, and Stephen Jones is going to tell you what he fancies.
Yeah, this is one of your favourite races. I know, Tom, being a railway buff and loving Isambard, Kingdom, Brunel, and the Flying Scotsman service and all that. But I'm going to go.
What's it got to do with a train?
Yeah, yeah. You thought it was super grand, didn't you? The Flying Scotsman.
What are you talking about, Jones? It's named after Jim Goldie. Go on.
Anyway, I fancied. I think it's an open race, this, and the fact that it's dominated by horses that have been very impressive in one run in novice company, the likes of War Rooms and Local Hero, going into pattern races after one run and one win. It's not. I don't like it because I think horses underperform or they get overbet. So I'm going to go with Dancing Gemini, who has had 3 goes. First time up ran at Salisbury and ran very well behind a horse called Metello, who has since run okay in better races. Ascot went in the Pat Edery race on King George Day, ran better than, I think it was King George Day, maybe it wasn't. Ran better in that listed race than the final fishing position because it was away for the main action. Had to make ground up at the wrong time and everything. So I wasn't too worried about that. Last time at Newbury, it all came together on easier ground. Now it's going to be soft ground by the looks of it at Doncaster, certainly on Thursday, today, Friday, and drying out Saturday. But on Friday, I expect it to be soft ground. And Dancing Gemini seemed to appreciate that last time. I think going into this sort of level, he is definitely worth it, and he's double figure odds. And Roger Teal, his trainer, won this race a few years ago with Tip to Win, and he's got another good one on his hands, I think, in Dancing Gemini. So win in place.
All righty, win in place for you, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Steve says about the open nature of this race. Not sure about the whole naming thing. That all got a bit bizarre. But yeah, I go with Kingdom of Riches personally. Again, I like the fact that he's had the 2 runs and not the 1. Obviously, the debut run behind Indian Run has worked out well with that horse being a subsequent group winner. And he put that experience to good use when just came forward, as you'd expect, over a furlong further at Leicester, made all. He looked really professional and got the job done nicely, as you'd expect. Rafe Beckett's been having a great season. Well, I say a great season. He's just a very, very good trainer, isn't he? And this horse, I think at 9.0, as Steve said, taking on horses that are really being backed on reputation after one impressive debut effort. I just can't see this horse. I'm going to back him win in place because I can't see him not being in the shake-up. And I think he's too big at the prices that we're seeing now.
Yeah, I'm against the top of the betting. It was going to be a no-bet race for me, but then I remembered Ponty and the debut of Royal Zabeel, who was disappointing. He was sent off at 9.5, but ran a really encouraging race where absolutely nothing went right. Julie bolted up when 1.5 at Ponty subsequently, but he opened up much closer to 2.0 and was absolutely hammered in the betting. And Willie Bitt was on board that day. He won like a pretty impressive horse. And I was surprised he was 15.0 here because I think there's a little bit more I think the merit of the performance last time is worth more than that, and I think he's a little bit priced up on the fact that he's been beaten and was beaten on debut. But if you're willing to strike a line through that, then I think he's almost got as much promise as Kingdom of Riches, as Warm Spell, who were both beaten on their debuts before winning last time. War Rooms might be. He looked really good last time, but I don't really want to take the top of the betting about him here. There was a similar profile horse of Owen Burrows', who I think is hugely talented, but was beaten at Salisbury in a listed race. I don't know. I thought it was value away from the top of the market, so I will go Royal Zabeel, win and place. Charlie's Kingdom of Riches, win and place, and Steve is Dancing Gemini, win and place. So we're sort of hoping that War Room's local hero at shorter prices don't bolt up. That's the Flying Scotsman done, and then we've got the Carlsberg Danish Pilsner Flying Childers Stakes. What train is that named after, Steve?
Oh, very fast one.
Mm-hmm.
A Childer that really flew.
Yeah, the Childer faster than the Scotsman, apparently. Big Evs is 4.5. Inquisitively is 5.5. Flora Bermuda 7.0. Killian is 7.5. Bigger prices the rest. I thought Big Evs was a fair price. I'll kick off because there's no disgrace, I think, in the run at York in an Unthorpe as a juvenile. I'm always willing to forgive a York run. We'll come to that later on with another horse I'm putting up. But like the winner was very good, dominating, making all. Nothing got into it. The second and the third on form, shouldn't have been beaten, but were. I don't know. It just felt a funny race that day. Prior to that, he was very good at Ascot, and on different ground, very good at Goodwood. And I thought he'd be a shorter price favourite back against his own age group. I think what he's achieved is quite a bit ahead of the rest of them. So I thought Big Ev's 4.5. Thank you very much. Charlie?
Yeah, I completely agree with that about the York run. I think it was a funny race. I think he is a fair price as well. I don't think 4.5 is an issue but it's just whether that run is going to leave a mark. He's not been overly busy, but stepping up against older company into a Group 1 like that, I'd just like to see him go back out and get back on track for all that. The York race was a funny race, and so I was willing to look away from him. I thought Inquisitively looked good at York, first start for Kevin Philippart de Foy, but I possibly felt there was he maybe had a rail bias. He was up the stand side on his own, and I thought maybe that was to his advantage. Flora Bermuda bombed out in the Lowther behind Relief Rally, so I'm looking to Killian. He obviously took a while to kind of get going. The feedback was that he was taking a long time to cop on. He was then very impressive at Newcastle and even more so at Sandown. And I just felt at Goodwood behind Big Evs and the Molecombe, and to a degree behind Lake Forest and the Gimcrack, things didn't really pan out his way. He got hampered in his run a couple of times. Just willing to forgive that. And at the prices, he's 7.5. Again, you could back him win and place if you want to. I feel like he's also a lot of ability that it hasn't just quite clicked for him in his last two starts. If he gets a clear run in, no excuses at Doncaster, I just wouldn't be surprised to see him get a bit closer to Big Evs than he did in the Molecombe. And at the price, I'm happier to be with him than I am with Big Evs.
Check. And Steve, I think all of us, I think we're putting up 12 different horses in these four races. So that's good. Steve?
Yeah, Flora of Bermuda for me, who absolutely bolted up in bad ground at Goodwood in a conditions race. And I thought that was a good conditions race. When you consider Juniper Berries, who finished second that day, who does handle softer ground, won the Group 3 at Salisbury the other week. So that form stacks up. And last time at York, I thought that Flora of Bermuda just failed to stay 6 furlongs in the Lowther. And the Lowther was a good race this year. And there's certain lines through other horses like Dorothy Lawrence, who finished second to Juniper Berries, that Flora of Bermuda had thrashed it at Goodwood. So I think had it been 5 furlongs, obviously that's a bit of a daft thing to say, but Flora of Bermuda would have been very competitive at that sort of Group 2 level. So that gives me hope that in this Group 2, back to 5 furlongs on soft ground, that Flora of Bermuda will definitely be there or thereabouts. And I think that the ability to handle the ground will be very key. And when you go back to this horse in the Queen Mary on faster ground, at Ascot, she was first home of those on the far side. She had a bad draw, and that was her undoing. When you consider that Relief Rally was runner-up in that race, the American horse won it, and Juniper Berries was just in front. The form really does stack up with Flora of Bermuda, and I think she's got an absolutely outstanding chance.
All right. Killian, Flora of Bermuda, and Big Evs. We're not putting up 12 different horses. We're putting up 11 different horses because the two of yous agree in our next race, which is the Doncaster Cup. Coltrane off the back of the win last time is 2.25. Trushan is 3.0. Sweet William is 5.0. And then we're into the bigger prices. The final pair. Who's stronger on Coltrane, do we think? Who's got a very strong opinion? That's a shrug from Steve. So, Charlie, I'm coming to you.
Yeah, I'd be very strong on Coltrane in this, as in Trushan's had a disappointing campaign. He looks like he's maybe not quite as good as he was. Had the wind up again, but I think he's had wind issues throughout his career. I wonder if this is more in hope than actual expectation. And Sweet William, I've respect for Sweet William. I'd put him up as the main danger, but finishing second in the Ebor, fantastic run as it was off 99. He's still got to prove he's up to going even further to this elevated level. And much as Coltrane has to concede a £3 penalty all round, I just think he's rock solid. Like I say, he won this race last year. He's second in the Gold Cup. Goodwood, where you can put a line through. And then he won nicely at York on his latest start. He's a really progressive stayer. He seems to be peaking at 6. And yeah, I really struggle to see him not winning this race, if I'm honest.
What do you want to add, Steve?
Yeah, I don't generally like horses with a penalty. I was tempted by Sweet William, but then I just think this boils down to one thing, the best horse, and that is Coltrane.
Okay. On official ratings, Coltrane is rated 117. He's carrying 9 stone 10. Sweet William is rated 103. He's carrying 9 stone 7. So you don't need me to tell you that on official ratings, Coltrane should have the beating of Sweet William. And I know, Steve, that's why you've made the selection. But I'm here to tell you that official ratings count for nothing. Nothing, Jones. I don't believe that, but Steve does. But I'm chancing Sweet William. I think on another day he could have won the Ebor. He's versatile regards ground. I just think he's a really exciting stayer. And I think the trip could end up bringing out the best in him. Coltrane will probably win. But at the prices, I was interested enough in the 5.0 about Sweet William. And just to add a bit of confidence to the shout, he's won at the track before as well, although that's probably just he was a warm order that day. But yeah, I think I feel that Coltrane is not quite a top-notch stayer, and part of me thinks that Sweet William could be. So I'll chance him to beat the favourite Coltrane. We all done there? Moving on. We come to the Mallard Handicap. Where another horse is running that ran in the Ebor last time. This is a 335. I'll read out the prices when we get there. Steve, you can kick us off.
Yeah, I used to love this. This has been my favourite race in the whole year because there used to be very few 3-year-olds. It used to be a big field, very few 3-year-olds win it and ran in it, and they used to win it every year. But it's changed a bit, so I can see why the GOAT is favourite. But I really liked the way Backdoor ran at York last time when second to Mahaba, the champ, in what I thought was a good it was a good run, it was a good race, and it was too short for Backdoor, and it was only this horse's first run of the season, so you'd think that he would improve for that. He had good form for Chris Wall last season. He handles a bit of juice in the ground. I'm hoping that he'll handle conditions. And certainly if it turns into a real stamina test at a mile and 6, because his record over this distance is very, very good, because he won twice last season over 1 mile and 6 and was also second to Trawler Man at Goodwood, who Trawler Man obviously then went on to win the Ebor. So his form over this sort of distance is exceptional. If he handles the conditions, he's got a superb chance.
The turnout is poor, as you say, just to get political for a second, but it's only a 60 grand race. I mean, it's not, with York only recently, it's not hard to see why horses might be, the Melrose, I don't know what it was worth for those 3-year-olds, but it was over 100 grand, well over, because every race was at York. This isn't going to be high on your staying handicap list of targets, I don't think. So that's probably why the prize money's for a race that they probably want a bigger turnout isn't enough. I'll chance Real Dream, who ran in the Ebor last time. Again, it has to be a York throughout run because it was very poor. I just know a few people who I'd really respect were on Real Dream from quite a way out for the Ebor. Mind you, he was sent off 9.5, but there was a bit of a drift in there. And that could have been in part because that the ground was quick enough. Although he won at this track on quick ground previously, he looked pretty good when winning with a bit of juice underfoot at Ascot. I think this is his distance. He was drawn really wide last time, although it doesn't always matter in the Ebor, but it's a small win shout at 4.5. The Goat's 4.0. Bagdoor is 5.5. Legendary Day is 9.5. Quantum Leap 11.0. Rhythmic Intent 15.0. Island Brave 17.0. One for the gut of the same price. Charlie Post.
Yeah, I'm going to go with one that actually did run in the Melrose in the favourite, the Goat. He was very impressive at Goodwood on handicap debut. He blitzed them. I mean, he absolutely bolted up 12 lengths. Got a hefty old hike for that, £12 hike. But he ran okay in the Melrose. You've beat 8 lengths behind stable companion Middle Earth. And I think the big thing for me is just the return to softer conditions. He is a 3-year-old, as Steve said, plenty that have good record in this race. And I just feel that there has to be still more to come with him under these conditions. Trip is fine. He's probably going to bowl along. But I just think this also is still completely unexposed over this trip on slow ground. And for that reason, I'm happy to go with him, even though there's one in there at a bigger price, an older horse that I'm going to put up as a long shot that I'm wary of.
All right. Real Dream for me, Charlie with the Goat, and Steve is with Bagdoor for the Mallard handicap. Best. We're coming to any other Friday bets first of all. Just you, I think, Charlie. Take it away.
Yeah, Rhythm Master in the 445. He's also that's well handicapped, really nicely handicapped on his form from previous years. We haven't seen him since he finished mid-division behind Barada in a good handicap at Ascot in July. And James Horton, decent young trainer through no fault of his own, has had a really, really interrupted campaign. I think that's fair to say. But the signs are in recent weeks, had a couple of winners in the last 14 days and a number of horses running well, that his string are in much better form. So, yeah, Rhythm Master, win and place in the 445 for me.
Okay, that's any other bets on the Friday. We come to Matchbook Zero long shot now. Matchbook Zero, reminder, the market goes live at 10 a.m. every day. Win-only bets here, but you are most likely to be getting best odds with Matchbook Zero. If you haven't checked it out, it's well worth doing so. Zero margin, zero commission, which only enhances your chances of getting best odds. 3 different shouts for you here. I'm with Royal Zabeel. There's my Matchbook Zero long shot in the 150 at Doncaster. Charlie, this is your other one in the Mallard.
Yeah, Rhythmic Intent, Stuart Williams' horse. I think he won this race before a couple of years ago. And he's just a well-handicapped horse that's shown on his last few starts. His turn isn't probably far away. So, yeah, Rhythmic Intent in the 335.
Steve? Go on, you give it another go, Steve. It's been a while as well. It hadn't happened for a while.
It has. Yeah, my long shot is Dancing Gemini in the 150. And the reason I find that funny is because I see it scrolling on the bottom. And when it came to me, I wasn't listening. And I said, my best bet is. So you saved me there. The mute button, you saved me.
Best delays. Just you, Charlie. But I thought about it with this horse. And then I thought, I'll leave him alone. Go on.
Yeah, was that sentiment or that you left him alone? But yeah, Trushan for me in the Doncaster Cup. I just don't think he's as good as he was. I can see the angle for improvement, possibly with the wind up. But like I say, I think it's an avenue he's been down before. And just in that race, I just think right now Coltrane is a better horse than him. So what price is he now, Tom? Is he still under 3.0?
3.0. Do you know, it wasn't a sentiment. It was that if you believe that it's just his wind, etc., then I don't know. It wouldn't. I couldn't back him, but I just don't want to be out and out against him, because if he gets a bit of dig underfoot, remember how good he was. So I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to take him on. Like I say, as in I just think even at peak form, there's not. I just don't think there's massive amounts of between him and Coltrane, as Coltrane is right at this moment in time, and he's a horse with no question marks, and the price isn't that dissimilar. So I'm happy to be against Trushan.
Best bets then for Friday. You can do a Trixie with these because there's 3 horses in 3 different races. Mine is Sweet William in the Doncaster Cup. My best bet, Steve.
Flora Bermuda, our 2-year-old that can handle what are going to be pretty testing conditions, I think is a sensational bet.
In the Flying Childers, and in the fast train race, Charlie.
Yeah, hopefully a speeding one, Kingdom of Riches. If that comes in, the Trixie, that will play pretty good.
That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'll take that. Okay, Saturday we go. We're starting with the big one, which is the St. Leger Stakes. And Frankie doesn't ride Gregory, rides Arrest, and that is who Charlie and I are going for. I'm pretty warm on this horse, Charlie. After the Derby, I thought Leger. Weight and money came for him last time with that success. And I think he's better than Gregory. So there you go.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. I think on ground, slower, good to soft or slower. I think he's 3 wins in, a couple in Group Company and a Group 1 second, so the ground is a massively important factor for him. The fact that Frankie rides him, I suppose we've got to accept it's going to have a price impact, but it also shows that he thinks he's the most likely winner of the 2 of Gosden's, or the 3 of, well, not that he could have ridden Middle Earth.
Is there any more in that, do we think? Is it? I don't know this. I'm speculating. I'm on holiday. I literally have had my head out of the racing news game. But is there? Do we think it's simply a Frankie's choice? He's chosen to ride Arrest.
It's a good question. I mean, but I mean, I'm going with that is the factor behind it. I mean, as in that he's retiring at the end of the year anyway, so I don't see why he should have sentiment to any particular owner. So possibly. I just felt that he's gone with it because he thinks it's his best chance of winning the last British Classic he's going to ride in. Like I say, chuck into the fact that I think Arrest looks a little bit slow. Can I say that? And Newbury the other day over a mile 5.5 with digging the ground, he just looked a bit of a relentless galloper. You'd say this hugely long straight, every bit as long as Newbury, is going to suit him ideally. Frankie will have loads of time to get him rolling, and there's going to be enough cut in the ground to see him at his best. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think he is better than Gregory, especially under these conditions. And going through the race, I thought you could pick holes in plenty of them, whereas under these conditions, I just don't see that Arrest isn't going to pitch up and be at his peak.
Steve?
Are we sure that Frankie didn't agree to ride Gregory at one price, and then when it came to it, he trebled it? Maybe, I don't know.
I didn't know if obviously Gregory used to be in the care of Philippa Cooper, and he doesn't ride. I don't know. Whatever it is. Thank you, Frankie Dettori, because this horse is going to be a drifter, obviously, while Arrest will be the one being backed. And I think Gregory, I really like Gregory, I must say. This horse was odds on for the great Voltager at York, and on fast ground, I couldn't believe this horse was odds on for that, because it won the Queen's Vase, got away with. I think he goes on decentish ground, but the ground was a lot faster at York, and he was dropping in distance. He is not quick enough, and I thought it was interesting that the Dettori thing, because he might have been swayed by John Gosden. I think he said on Nick Luck's pod that the sire line
doesn't favour the soft ground. But you look at the way that Gregory gallops, he just picks his knees right up and whacks the ground. For me, he wants soft ground, and that's backed up by the dam side of his pedigrees from those Normandy stud horses. Like they're all called Duncan or Lionel, and he's a half brother to Lionel. This horse, and Lionel loved soft ground, won what used to be the predominant. I think it's called the Cocked Hat, isn't it? Good with the Derby trial. And I think getting onto soft ground, going back over 1 mile and 6, we'll see Gregory at his best. He wasn't quick enough at York. He's just going to keep going. I think this will set up lovely for him. And I think Kieran Schumacher, who some people have, there have been rumours about Kieran Schumacher being Frankie's replacement. And I don't think it would have been a very easy decision for Frankie between the pair of them. But he's probably swayed because Arrest won last time out and Gregory didn't. But that's not putting me off.
The time at Ascot when he won was only 1.5 seconds slow. It wasn't as if it was slow ground.
No, but what I'm saying is he wants it, the way he gallops and the damn side of his pedigree. He wants slow ground, and he picks his knees right up this horse, and they all do though. That side of the family, all those horses, Duncan and Lionel, and all the rest of them.
Well, he's definitely going to be back on a softer surface. Steve's enthusiasm has got me a little concerned. I might end up with a half decent price, Jonesy.
When a jockey has to choose between horses, the market always overreacts, and you don't know. He might think, "Oh God, how do I choose between these two?" There might be so little between it. And the other thing is, I often think that jockeys, especially when they're attached to the stable, they've got two to choose from. They are often swayed by what happens in the morning rather than what happens in the afternoon. And you can see Gregory's not very quick, but he's going to see this out, and that it might turn into a bit of a slog.
4.33 Arrest, Continuous and Gregory are 5.0, Desert Hero is 6.0, and then we get into the slightly bigger prices. That is the price for the St. Leger. Prices for the St. Leger and our selections. The Sports Elephant says Tower of London got a chance, ? It's difficult with those. You always feel those Aidan O'Brien runners are in there for other horses in the race, but it doesn't mean they're without a chance. Any views on that?
No, I don't agree with that. I would never put anyone off an O'Brien second, third, or even fourth string, because you've seen down the years, especially in the Derby and things, that they do win. And if you take a literal view of the form from the Bahrain Trophy, when Castleway beat Tower of London ahead, and before that, Tower of London had been mopping up a couple of races in weaker races in Ireland, but Castleway came out and was split Continuous and Gregory in the Great Vultures. So I can see it's not. I don't think he's going to be quite good enough, but he's got to have some sort of chance.
All right, moving back to the Champagne Stakes. It is 8 years since Emotionless took this. My favourite ever horse. What a boy he was. Although let us down very much in the Dewhurst. That was my love affair with Charlie Appleby horses, starting and finishing pretty quickly. Rosalien is the horse that heads the betting, and some 1.5. I don't get that. Iberian is 4.5. Mountain Bear is 15.0. 17.0. Sunway Power Mode is 40.0. Who's the no bet in this, Steve? So, Charlie, you're with Rosalien.
Yeah, I'm with him. I mean, look, at 1.53, whether I'll be backing him or not is a different story. I mean, Blue Point Messiah is flying, and especially so in recent weeks. He churning out 2-year-old winners like there's no tomorrow. And the vibes were strong when this horse pitched up at Ascot after making a winning debut at Newbury. And I thought he tanked through the race and won with any amount in hand. There's been some winners coming out of that contest as well. There's no reason to presume it wasn't a decent race of its type, that listed race. And I just think he's a lot better than these. You know, he's less exposed. I mean, Iberian has got the Group 2 second. I don't know how strong that race was with Hatem and I don't know. It'd be interesting. And you know, Mountain Bear of Aiden's is fairly exposed for, you know, as he is what he is. And yeah, I really like Rosalien. I was at Ascot the day he won, and the way he went through it suggested to me that he's well above average, and he might not even have to improve that much on that to take this race out, I didn't think.
All right, I'm chancing one here. I do get Rosalian obviously having an incredibly solid chance off the back of those 2 runs last time, and he looked mighty impressive at Ascot. It's just Sunway. The performance on debut is still lingering with me. It was electric. Like he had no right to win the way he did. Asheen Murphy got off, and the comments he made afterwards were sort of stuck with me. And then I would imagine he had something to do with Qatar Racing buying into the horse subsequently. That said, last time was really disappointing. He went off at 3.5, never really travelling, never looking happy. The Memuisier horses were quiet at that point. They're a little bit warmer now, and they reached for a tongue tie on him. There's a chance the ground was on the quick side at Ascot, but it wasn't exactly slow at Sandown. I think he probably does want a little bit of cut underfoot to be seen to best effect. But there's every chance I think he's put up the second best performance in this race by that Sandown win. It was striking, I thought. So if you're willing to forgive Ascot, then he's a really fair price at 17.0. It was a bit bigger, actually. It was a bit disappointing. There was some 26.0. But anyway, I think he might cause an upset. I think he's really smart. We just got to forgive last time. So I'm just gonna chance him in the win market and have a half decent go at him. To be honest, I think he could cause a surprise. So that is Sunway for David Menuisier, Asheen Murphy with tongue tie on for the first time. Moving on to the 225, which is the Portland Call Me Well, I'll tell you what, they're big prices. It's 9.0 the field. So Steve, I'll come to you first of all.
Yeah, it's interesting because I came down on 2 and Charlie's gone for the other one, and I did that without seeing what Charlie had tipped. So I thought that was interesting. But that is seriously
interesting. That's great.
You've been
no, I think we'll clip that up, producer Dan. Maybe if we could put that interesting bit on Twitter, that would be great. That'll get some likes. Go on, Steve.
Don't buy into it, Steve. He's only being chippy,
Well, it was good of him to turn up eventually. Anyway, Existent is the one I've come down on, and Existence spent most of the early part of this season and all of last season in group races, running all right. Ran midfield in the King's Stand at Ascot behind Bradsell and Highfield Princess, and wasn't disgraced in the Temple, went 4th. So it's got a high level of ability, but it's been coming down the weights because he's not been winning, and he switched to handicaps midsummer, and he was only beaten a couple of lengths in a decent race at Ascot when he was coming from off the pace where the pace didn't collapse, and there's a lot of pace in this race, and he was just behind Rasel, that kind of high level sprint handicap, and they've put the hood on him the last 3 goes. That's taken off today. I like that angle. I think the hood has more effect when it comes off than it does when it goes on. He only ran last week behind Call Me Ginger when he didn't see much daylight. Call Me Ginger is one of the favourites, if not the favourite for this race. So he was only a couple of lengths behind him without getting a clear run. So that's another good pointer. When he's turned out quickly off the back of, he was second to Lord Ridderford when he was poorly drawn at Goodwood, and Lord Ridderford was winning that race for the 3rd time, I think. So that was a good run considering he wasn't well drawn, and he was coming off the back of a 3-day break. His previous run at Ascot was off the back of a 7-day break, which he returns off today. So I think he's 26.0, something like that. So I'm well willing to take a chance. If he has got to see the longer distance out, but I think now he's a bit older, I think he does. And Doncaster especially suits horses coming from off the pace, I think, in these sprints. It's not easy to make all the running, and there's a fair bit of pace in there to set it up for them. So, yeah, a lot of reasons to back Existent.
at 26.0. And Steve also fancied another one in the race, who, interestingly, Charlie has gone for 21.0 for Kim and Grace.
Yeah, Kim and Grace. This filly's very, 4-year-old filly. She's really well handicapped on form from the previous season, and she started this year off winning a listed race at Lingfield. She's somehow managed to come down a further 8 pounds in her last 4 starts and pitches up here off 87. I think the run at York the last day, I mean, again, in the write-ups, it kind of makes out that she was very eye-catching and unlucky. I'm not so sure it was quite that positive, but there is no doubt under Ryan Moore, she made strong late headway to be beat just over 2 lengths and finishing on the heels of them. This extra half furlong should suit her ideally. She has a bit of form with cutting the ground, and George Rook is on her, and he has a really good record on her too. And Richard Hughes' horses are in good form at the moment as well. So yeah, Kim and Grace drawn in 17, win and place for me at 21.0.
I'm win and place 2 with Live in the Moment, who last time he ran at the track, if it was 5.5, he probably would have won. The trouble is that was a class 4, dominated at Goodwood last time. The track's often compared to Ascot, and there are similarities, but equally, I think it's easier to stay on the pace here. Although I'm probably clutching at straws saying that because the horse is a pace angle. But I still think there's upside off the back of the win last time, up £3. Ground should be absolutely spot on, no extremes. And you'll definitely get a good run for your money because I think at the 5 furlong marker, he'll look like he's probably going to win. It's just, he can get collared. That's my slight concern. But Live in the Moment, I thought was overpriced at 19.0. We move on to the Park Stakes. Nothing for me here. Thought this was a typical sort of, I couldn't get excited by anything. Charlie, who are you with?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like not really. I just thought Spy Catcher was very, very solid. It's pretty unoriginal, but the last 2 starts have been very good at Deauville, winning a Group 3 and then being narrowly beaten the Prix Maurice de Giste. And this horse loves soft ground. As in at 5, he seems to be peaking and progressing, and a couple of his main rivals, the likes of Audience, Sandrine, I thought would be better suited by quicker conditions. Jumbie as well, you'd imagine there's every chance that won't pitch up if the ground is on the slow side. And I thought Spy Catcher was really solid at the top of the market in this. At anything in and around 3.0 or just beneath, I'd make him a good bet in this contest.
2.63 currently. Audience is 4.0. Sandrine is 5.0. Biggles is 7.0. Jumbly a little bit bigger than that. Steve, I haven't even got to your. Oh no, I have. Steve,
I've messed up here.
Yeah, you
because
have. Yeah,
I've done this off the entries, and I haven't refreshed the trade papers website when the entries, and unfortunately it doesn't run. So I've screwed up there, and that's depressing. I'm surprised it's cut up like it is. I was tempted by Biggles, but Biggles is better off. It might dry out too much for Biggles, and Biggles is better off a strong pace, even though Pogo's in there. But yeah, sorry, I have messed up there.
Listen, what it shows is how how willing you are to get stuck into the early prices. Dangerous to combine the names willing and early. But that shows how far out you did your work, Steve, if anything.
Earlier on as well, there was a race sponsored by Carlsberg, and I was going to say that Steve is probably the best tipster in the world, but that's just gone badly wrong.
Yeah, it has. It has. You could always save this moment with an interesting story, Steve. No. Okay. Let's move to Chester. To the 205 is the first race we're looking at. It's the Stand Cup Stakes. Blue Stocking is 2.0. Al Karim is 7.5. Madara is 8.0. Sea of Roses is 11.0. Bigger prices thereafter. No bet for Steve. I was close to a no bet, but Charlie and I have put Blue Stocking. Gosh, isn't she just far and away the best of these? The York run was a bit disappointing, but on the Curragh form, away from quick ground that was. I think she probably does want a bit of cut underfoot. My only concern is that the trainer had said that she's not that hardy, and they weren't sure about running at York. But she's too good, isn't she, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was one of these silly races. I went through it. I was trying to maybe make a case for Sea of Roses of Andrew Baldwin's, and I was like, ran okay on slower ground at Hamilton and ran all right at Ascot, but behind Blue Stocking in the Ribblesdale. But then I was like, but Blue Stocking should be better off suited by more cutting the ground, as she showed at the Curragh when narrowly beaten in the Irish Oaks. And so, yeah, I just came down with Blue Stocking is the best of these by quite a way. Will be suited by conditions because it's definitely not going to be quick, and really deserves to get a win under her belt in a listed race this time round. I mean, it's amazing she hasn't actually won this season because she's performed to a really high level.
And I think it's fair to say we're not overly excited by that contest. The 240 is a little bit more open, or a good bit more open. How many have we got in here? A fair few for Chester, over 10.5.
10, yeah.
Sweet Reward is 7.5. Southern Voyage is 10.0. Box to Box 11.0. First Impression 11.0. Bigger prices thereafter. I'm with Sweet Reward. Off the back of, I remember when he won at Epsom, the trainer Johnny Portman was not surprised, but also felt that he could just kick on this year, and he really has. Barring the Sandown run, won at Goodwood last time. Has gone up 7 off the back of that, but I thought was pretty good value for it. And the obvious thing is the track's going to suit. I quite like the draw in 7 in that I don't think he'll be the out-and-out leader. I think he'll be able, I hope, to sort of sit box seat, which shouldn't be a bad thing here. And you can still get a win and place price about him. Whereas I think there are a few who just won't be suited by the track, and not that you can put a line through, but a few I really couldn't make a case for. And Sweet Reward I could make a pretty solid case for at a win and place price, so 7.5. Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Belhaven win in place. Now, Belhaven's form figures aren't great, unless you're in the police, because they've been 9.99 the last 3. And the most recent of those at Goodwood, the race just didn't pan out. It missed the break and couldn't get a position, and that was sort of game over. Before that, did it the other way round, made the running in a race where they went a bit too quick. If you go back to this horse's best form, which has all been on soft ground, and it could be really quite testing. There's a lot of rain forecasts for Chester, and it's already soft. And if you go back to the form at Nottingham, where this horse won in May, making all the running, I think stepping up to a mile and 2. It's only had one go at a mile and 2, but that came off the back of a break and he just didn't run very well. But she's now in. Now she's had plenty of runs. She's fit, and I think she's got her conditions. And I think Chester might suit her. And Hayley Turner, who rides her, has got a really good race. She rides Chester really well. So I don't think, coming back to the same handicap rating as when beaten a neck by far too shy at Ascot in May, which is decent enough form, I think she's got a good chance. I think she's been underestimated in the betting. What was she, about 13.0, something like that?
Let's have a look. Got Charlie.
No, more than that, 17.0.
Yeah, 17.0.
Yeah, winning place. I think that's quite. I think she's in better form than she suggests.
And your selection is a couple of points shorter than that at 15.0, Charlie.
Yeah, Baryshnikov for me also. That's one round the track before and one on slow ground. Again, earlier in the year, he was going close off marks of 89, 90. He's down off 87. And I just think there's been reasons the last couple of starts at Chester and York, lack of tempo, that he's maybe ran a little bit below that level. But again, accordingly, he's ended up dropped a few more pounds off 87. David Nicola Barron's also going well. And Ben Kurtz, I think, rides the track good as well. And so 10 runners here. Drawn in 2, we're going to need a good tempo, but I think if there is pace on, which looking through the race is a strong possibility, he's going to have no excuses. And like I say, I think he's handicapped to win, and Chester form, as we know, is all important, and the ability to handle slow ground, as Steve says, because it could end up pretty soft by Saturday at Chester.
That is all of our previews done. We come to our Matchbook Zero long shots because we've got no lays, I don't believe, on the Saturday. Matchbook Zero long shot, remember, is Matchbook Zero, a market that goes live at 10 a.m. every day, matches the exchange prices, but there's zero margin, there's zero commission. So you're most likely to be getting best odds. You're certainly enhancing your chance of getting best odds, which you are likely to do with the nature of the exchange and the Matchbook exchange anyway. So check it out if you haven't. I'm with Sunway, my Matchbook Zero long shot, who's about 17.0. Charlie?
Yeah, Barishnikov in the 240 at Chester. And Steve, I think you nearly pulled it back out the fire with that 999 gag. Very good.
Thanks, mate. I shan't tell you the texts I've been getting off Tom during this podcast.
I'll tell you, I sent you a text saying interesting. And my next one just said Holguin. So there we are. What we got? Your Matchbook Zero long shot.
Yeah, existent in the Portland.
Saturday best bets then. Saturday best bets. Again, so one each or one per race, if you like, so we can get the Trixie up. I'm with Sunway, my best bet in the Champagne Stakes. It was at the prices when he was 26.0, he's 18.0, but love Sunway in that 150, Charlie.
Spycatcher in the 3 o'clock at Doncaster.
And Steve.
Gregory St. Ledger.
Confident with that one. We'll see what happens in the feature 3:35 on Saturday. That's us done. Hope you've enjoyed all the action. And don't forget to head to Matchbook Insights, insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the best bets. You'll find all of the podcast best bets up there. That's between horse racing and there'll be some Premier League up there as well. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.